You can come up here. Good evening, everyone. I am pleased to be joined by our Deputy County Executive, Lisa Shamara, and our Commissioner of Public Works, William Gary, as we give a winter storm update, a briefing in regards to what is a significant snow event that will be occurring in our community. Part of it starting actually as we speak right now in southern Erie County, others not until tomorrow. But this is going to be a significant storm with ramifications for our community. I do apologize before I go forward. We normally would have an interpreter from Deaf Access Services here. Unfortunately, we could not obtain one because of multiple events that are going on at this point, so I apologize to those in our community of people with disabilities that we were not able to obtain an interpreter from Deaf Access Services for tonight's press briefing. I wanted to show you, this is from the National Weather Service. It's a summary of the greatest impacts. It is a formula that they use to identify whether a storm has limited, elevated, or up to the top, which is extreme impacts. I've only seen one other storm in my history as county executive, and this is my 11th year, in which we had a storm listed as extreme. And we'll talk about that storm later at the end of this program. This is a very, very significant event. Extreme means that it will be very hazardous for travel. Travel will be near impossible during the height of the storm. And it is primarily for southern Erie County starting right now through tomorrow morning, and then throughout the extent of the storm through Sunday. And then, of course, for northern Erie, which is the Buffalo metropolitan region, Genesee and Jefferson counties, which is further to the east off of Lake Ontario. This is not something that we see often. We deal with snowstorms. We've got lots of snowstorms. We usually have one or two bad ones a year, but it is very rare to see the Weather Service call for extreme impacts, which basically in some ways is the shutdown of the community while this event is going on. So this is the latest information that we have from the Weather Service. These models were sent to us just before 4 o'clock today. The winter storm has actually in some ways commenced in southern Erie County. Our Commissioner of Public Works can testify. We have trucks on the roads as snow is already starting to fall in southern Erie County. This is the area where they like the snow because this is otherwise known as ski country. A number of our ski resorts are down there. We like it when they get 2 or 3 feet of snow down there. Unfortunately, they're not going to get the vast majority of the snow in the storm. But they did update the forecast to note that through the life of this storm, it is possible that up to 3 feet of snow will be accumulating in southern Erie County, with winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour, which will provide very patchy blowing snow conditions, which of course create whiteouts. So southern Erie County, starting primarily at 7 o'clock tonight, will get the heaviest through 1 a.m. on Saturday. But it's actually started. The snow's already started in southern Erie County. We already have trucks on the road plowing in southern Erie County. And during the height of the snow in the overnight hours, it will be very difficult to travel in these portions of southern Erie County, which for those who know or those who may not know is an area of the highest elevation in Erie County, a hilly area, where if you don't have a good vehicle and you're driving in the snow, you could have significant problems and easily drive off the road on these roads. Now, of course, the Buffalo metro region. The winter storm is to commence in northern Erie County starting tomorrow. The lake effect snow warning starts at 7 p.m. to 1 p.m. on Sunday. Heavy lake effect snow expected. Total accumulation of 2 to 3 feet is expected, though that can grow and is expected even potentially to be larger. This period that you see here that shows from 24 inches to 30 inches in the Buffalo metro region is from 7 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday the 17th, through 7 p.m. Friday the 18th. So this 24 to 30 inches that you see listed in this latest model from the National Weather Service out of Buffalo is not the extent of the total storm through Sunday. It is only for 24 hours. And the snow will be falling at various times at rates of 3 inches per hour. I'll turn it over to our Commissioner of Public Works, talk a little bit about the snow removal. When we start getting to 3 inches per hour of snow, That is a very difficult rate for us to maintain because it takes us approximately 4 hours to do a plow route. So if you went through one section of the route, and by the time you get back to it, it's been snowing at 3 inches per hour, you're going to have another foot on the ground. So it makes it very difficult. The travel will be treacherous at times. We will, as I'll talk about the recommendations, we will see conditions where you really don't want to be out driving because it's going to be very difficult to traverse. And as we know, all it takes is 1 or 2 cars on a major route to get stuck, and that can cause a huge problem because our plows cannot get down the road, and then the snow builds up, and the next thing you know, you're not plowing roads, you're coming in with high lifts and picking the snow up in buckets and putting in the trucks. That's exactly what happened 8 years ago, and we do not want to repeat that again. So this is just, the winter storm will commence tomorrow around 7 p.m., and in a 24-hour period, it is predicted that 24 to 30 inches of snow will fall in the Buffalo metro region, including a significant portion of the city of Buffalo and its suburbs. And then the winter storm estimates from Friday 7 p.m. to Saturday 7 p.m., you see another 12 to 18 inches in the following 24-hour period. So what we're going to see, as this next map shows, this is the snowfall totals as predicted by the National Weather Service from 7 p.m. tonight through 7 p.m. Saturday, that we could see upwards of 4 feet of snow in the immediate Buffalo, city of Buffalo and metro region, the immediately following suburbs. But all of Erie County is going to have a significant snowfall, at least a foot, and upwards of 2 feet in other areas. So this is very concerning because there's only a certain amount of snow that our plows can take off the road if they happen to be stuck behind a car. And then we get to a point of getting in a situation where we are changing from plows to, as I noted, high lift bucket trucks and putting it in trucks and dumping the snow elsewhere. So I'm going to turn over our Department of Public Works Commissioner Bill Gary to talk a little bit about our public works, the trucks we're going to have on our roads, and our highway districts, because we have 5 highway districts, which to most people's knowledge, but not everyone, does not include the city of Buffalo. So Bill.
Yes, sir. Here's 2 slides. All right, thanks. Good evening, thanks. As the county executive alluded, we've got currently about 20 trucks in the southern half, the southern 3 districts, treating roads. They're actually plowing snow right now. That we saw a changeover at the Cattaraugus County border about 4 p.m. From rain to a slush mix, but now it's come down. It's a real heavy, wet snow, which we anticipate. Like the county executives had said, it's about 4 hours to do one route. That's in an average snowfall of about 1 inch an hour. So when we get into the intense rates of 2 and over 3 inches an hour, which we anticipate seeing tomorrow night, it's going to become very problematic for our crews. Those drivers are also, going to have to possibly pull off the road. We've only had to do that one other time in a very limited event, but those intensities can cause major issues with the trucks getting around. Right here is a map of our 1,200 centerline miles of road, which Erie County maintains. Of that 600 miles, that's the county's plowing. We have contracts with other towns, villages, and cities, with the exception of the city of Buffalo, where there are no county roads, to help us maintain and plow those roads. So it's a real important piece here. We have a plow contract that we just renewed at the beginning of the year with our municipalities. We've been on coordinating calls most of the day today with state DOT starting out this morning. Also spoke with the city of Buffalo as some of our routes do come up to the city line. If it does get into an event where resources are needed, New York State responds, and D-Land, our informational tickets that we have, we pass up through New York State DOT and try and allocate additional resources to this area. Again, we don't own any roads within the city of Buffalo. They probably may get into a situation where we'll have to assist them, but first and foremost, we have to take care of the county roads, and we'll play that by ear. And if we can extend some of our beats that come up along the border into the city, we'll do what we can to help out. But in a big event like this, it's always one fight and one team. So all municipalities will work together, including all the towns and villages, support what we can.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will note, because of the size of our trucks, we can't go down small city side streets. Last year, we took, in a couple of the storms, and we took over routes in the immediate county complex in downtown Buffalo on Elmwood, Delaware, Pearl, Franklin Street, to keep those roads open. If we have to do that, we will, again, but our goal is to take care of the 1,200 miles of roads, the 600 of which we are responsible for, and the other 600 which towns plow. I have been in contact with the state as well as the State Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. They have moved trucks into this region from other parts of New York State. I know of at least 50 trucks that are approximately 50 trucks that have been moved in. They're actually staging individuals at hotels right now, and they'll be sending them as needed in northern Erie County. So it could be the city of Buffalo, could be the town of Amherst, could be the town of Cheektowaga as needed. But the state is here already, and I expect that we'll be seeing a tremendous presence from them, as well as what you see from Erie County. And if we can help the city of Buffalo out as needed, we will. But we also have a responsibility to clear the roads that we're responsible for. The Emergency Operations Center. The Erie County Emergency Operations Center is the emergency hub for all of Erie County, all the towns, the city, as well as the state utilizes it as well. The state also has a separate Emergency Operations Center. But it will open effective 7 p.m. tomorrow, so 1900 hours. It is run by our Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. Department of Public Works will be there. All of the departments that are engaged in snow effort in the response to this storm will be based there. And we will, in the future, be holding all press briefings there. So to members of the press, we will be holding press briefings right from the Emergency Operations Center starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Up until then, we will hold some press briefings in tomorrow morning here as needed. But this is where the nerve center is. This is where we run all the operations in previous storms, and we will be tomorrow. There was a question as to what level. There are 3 levels of activation associated with major events. Number 1 is the smallest. Number 2 is what we do for most of events. Number 3 is if it's a multi-day to almost a week event. So we are activating it at the 2nd level effective tomorrow. I hope I don't have to activate it to the 3rd level. That means we're going to be working for many days to respond and hopefully clean up this storm. If all things go well, snow hits with a vengeance tomorrow, and I should say starting tomorrow night through Friday and early Saturday. If things go well, hopefully we'll be all done with this and have most of the roads open and passable on Sunday. If not, we will take the time that we need to ensure that we clear the roads. I just want to say one thing about our Department of Public Works. They have a full complement of plows. They have a full complement of drivers. We are on 24 hours, actually 2 12-hour shifts. So it's not like there will be breaks. When one shift is done, the next shift goes out. And I want to commend the men and women who are working behind the plows, because it's not easy in these conditions to do it. And it's often made much more difficult when people are on the roads when they shouldn't be. But I really thank the members of the Public Works Department for the work that they've done to get us through these situations in the past, often working for days on end to help with cleanups. Erie County offices will be closed on Friday. In order to keep vehicles off the streets, to allow plows to clean the streets, and to protect our public, Erie County offices will be closed on Friday, November 18th. Only essential workers should report to work. And as I've said before, if you don't know your employee status, you are non-essential. And often people are like, well, am I essential? Essential are those involved in law enforcement. Essential are those with public works. Essential are those who are having a direct impact in the response. Erie County has a work-from-home protocol now, following the issues associated with our COVID-19 pandemic. And it is very important that people understand in county government that we will be following the work-from-home protocol. This is important because we really want to keep the streets clear. Erie County has 5,000 employees in total when you think about all the divisions. The libraries will be closed on Friday as well. And we want to ensure that we're keeping as many people off the streets to protect them, but also to allow our Department of Public Works to be able to get out there and do what they need to do. Recommendation for private businesses for Friday. If the current forecast holds, in order to keep vehicles off the street, to allow plows to clean streets and protect our public, we recommend that private businesses consider closing for Friday in the Buffalo metropolitan region. This is based on the current forecast. It's always possible it could change. Weather Service might come back and say the winds are changing, we're not going to get as much snow. But in order to give private businesses a sufficient amount of time, we are recommending that they close on Friday. Also, I have been advised by New York State that the New York State Thruway from exits 46 to 61 will be closed to all commercial traffic starting tomorrow at 4 p.m. Private vehicles will still be able to travel between those exits. It is possible that if the storm is as strong as it is, New York State will close the Thruway to all traffic starting either late Thursday or Friday. But as of now, all commercial traffic will be off of the Thruway between exits 46 and 61 tomorrow, which is another reason why if you're a private business and you're expecting a delivery from other parts of the country, it's not going to get here because the Thruway will be closed starting at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Schools. I just got off a conference call with leaders of school districts from across Erie County. And I recommended to them, and they are going to revisit and consider, but if the current forecast holds and is what we expect for Friday, once again, to protect our children, to ensure that we have appropriate ability to get out there and plow the roads, we recommend that the schools should be closed on Friday if the current forecast holds. We'll revisit it with the school districts tomorrow, and I expect all school districts to make a recommendation. Now, this is in the Buffalo metro region. There are school districts in southern Erie County where a foot of snow does not close the school. We're able to handle that. But in the Buffalo metropolitan region, 3 to 4 feet of snow, at least 3 feet on a Friday, is a sufficient reason to seriously consider closing schools and all activities thereafter. And we'll be discussing this further with school representatives tomorrow. Happy anniversary, folks. Tomorrow is the 8th year, or the day of the 8th year anniversary since Winter Storm Knife. So here we are 8 years later, and we are going to have maybe not as big a storm as we had with this November Winter Storm Knife storm, but we are going to have a doozy of a storm. One that maybe won't meet the record books for the most snow that falls, because that snow in various spots had up to 7 feet. But 4 feet over basically 2 days is a lot of snow, especially when almost 3 feet of it falls in one day. So happy anniversary if everybody remembers that storm. Well, that commenced in our region on November 17th of 2014, and the snowstorm that will be hitting the Buffalo metropolitan region will be commencing on November 17th again. So just a little fact to sort of make us smile at this time. I will now take questions from local media and national media.
What's some practical advice for just the average resident who's going to be at home that they should know?
The question is, what's the practical advice to the resident who should know about the storm? Is that it is going to be a very significant snow event with snow falling at rates of up to 3 inches per hour. You should stay home on Friday. You should consider Friday to be a work from home day if you can work from home. I fully expect that most of the school districts will probably heed the advice if the weather forecast doesn't change, and they'll be closed. This is not a time you want to be driving on the streets. This is a time you want to be in a safe location, and the safest location you can be is home. I know our deputy county executive spent an entire career as a teacher, and I know the safest place, you want to talk about that, is not necessarily driving to the classroom, but at home.
Well, I think, first and foremost, our children need to be protected, especially during these times. So I think the superintendents do a great job of getting the message out clearly and early so parents have time to make any arrangements that they may need to make. So I think, again, I think the county executive was proactive in meeting or discussing this with the superintendents today, and I think appropriate actions will be taken.
Michael, you had a question?
Yeah, a question that nobody talked about. Is a certain football team going to be able to play this weekend?
The question is a certain football team going to be able to play this weekend? I can't answer that question. I have shared the forecast with representatives of the Buffalo Bills. We're expecting the heavy snow to finish on Saturday. We don't expect it to continue. The snow will continue through Sunday, but the worst part of it will be through 7 p.m. Saturday. The problem might be the roads around the facility.
We're getting them in here.
Let's just say that right now, as it was in 2014, that is in some ways the least of my worries. We like to see our Bills play. We like to see them win. But our number one responsibility is the protection of our community, ensuring that we have the roads open as quickly as possible, not just for a football team. But I gather if there's not a significant snowfall in the Orchard Park area where the football team plays, then maybe they could have the game. But it's all conjecture at this point. If they get 3 feet of snow between Thursday night and Saturday, then it might be difficult for them to hold a game, but I'd leave it up to them to have to make that decision.
Hey Mark, who is in charge of clearing off the seats, snow removal from the parking lots and within the stadium? And what would be the protocol for that, and could it be done within 24 hours?
The question is who's responsible for clearing off the seats, the parking lots? The Bills are responsible. The county, of course, would have a responsibility for the county roads around it, Abbott Road. The state, I believe, does Southwestern Boulevard, Mile Strip, parts of those areas. So Route 20A. The Bills are responsible for the football footprint, the stadium footprint, which would include the field, the seats, the walkways, and the parking lots. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know. I mean, last time we dealt with this situation, they ended up having to move the football game to Detroit. I'm not certain if that's going to be a possibility or not. It all just depends on what we get. And we'll have a much better idea of that, I guess, on Friday night as compared to today, Wednesday night.
Well, I was thinking of the airport.
The airport, this airport has the question was about the airport. The airport has a very, very good team that does a great job of clearing the runways. The problem is not so much clearing the runways, it's when you have snow falling at that fast a rate, it's not only difficult to clear the runways, it could theoretically be unsafe for the flights to come in. If the winds are 35 miles per hour, they're dealing with wind shear. If it's 35 miles per hour here, you know it's much higher way up when they're landing. Once again, the airport will make that decision. If the conditions are unsafe, they'd close the airport. We're playing Cleveland, and Cleveland would have to either fly in or drive by bus, but it's quite possible that the thruway will be closed at least through Saturday if these conditions continue.
Any significant changes to the snow plowing plan for this year?
The question was, any significant changes to the snow plowing plan this year? Not from the county. We've done a very good job of handling significant snowfalls. As I say, it's not uncommon in southern part of Erie County to get 2 feet of snow in any one day, or sometimes even 3 feet. It's a snow area. I mean, that's an area that can get over 200 inches of snow during a winter season. It's where they ski. So not uncommon. It's just when you're in the metro region, it's a heck of a lot tougher because now you got cars parked on the side of the road. I would note that all of the towns in the city of Buffalo have gone to their winter parking requirements, which means if you're on a bus route, you cannot park on the street in the overnight hours. There's alternate street parking on a lot of side streets. We have a pretty robust plan that has worked in the past. The only time in which we were basically stopped in our tracks was in 2014 with Winter Storm Knife, when basically the reason we were stopped in our tracks was because vehicles got stuck on the road. And if a vehicle gets stuck on a road, a plow can't get down the road. And that's what was happening, is our plows were getting stuck behind vehicles, and they were white knuckling it because they were like, I could clear this if I could get past this vehicle, which they couldn't. So I think we'll be in a good position to handle it as best as we can, assuming people follow the directions. As of right now, I should have said this earlier and I didn't. A travel advisory will be in effect for all of Erie County as of 7 p.m. tonight. 7 p.m. tomorrow. Travel advisory for all of Erie County for 7 p.m. tomorrow. A travel advisory is in place for Erie County, the southern part of Erie County, right now. Will there be a driving ban? We've had people reach out to us, including we had a supervisor's call earlier. I don't know if there will be a driving ban. I'll have a much better idea early Friday morning. The only way to implement a driving ban under New York State law is to declare a state of emergency. So it is possible that if the severity of the storm is as strong as predicted, that a state of emergency would be declared early Friday and a driving ban could be put in effect for portions of Erie County that morning, but I'll have a much better idea on that tomorrow night as well as early Friday morning. I think this is going to be one of those storms where I'll be up for 36 hours in a row, get a few hours sleep, and then back to 36 hours in a row.
Have you talked to the NFTA about bus service?
The question was, have I talked to the NFTA about bus service? I have not. I believe our Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services has, but they're not here because they're actually getting the Emergency Operations Center. They're starting to open it and get it ready for the full activation as of 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Because they have buses in the area that is getting hit right now.
The NFTA, once again, I know that if it gets to a point where it's too difficult for their drivers to drive, they will take the buses off the routes.
But nothing,
And once again, right now, no, it's not that. I mean, we don't really have any snow in the metro area. There's southern parts of Erie County, which we're handling that right now. Most buses don't run at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, which is good because that gives our plows an opportunity to get out there in the middle of the night and clear those routes. But once again, we'll revisit that and make a determination as the situation moves forward.
How important is it if this the forecast holds true, that schools close early enough, businesses close early enough to keep people off the roads and not wait for it to happen?
The question was, how important is it if the current forecast holds forth to have schools close, businesses close, and others on Friday? I think we all know what has happened in the past when people have been stuck in downtown Buffalo or stuck on the thruway or the major routes. Then we're basically doing rescue missions. We're sending law enforcement out to get people from their vehicles. The one advantage we do have with this storm is it does not appear it will be bitterly cold, though wind chills in the teens are expected. That's pretty cold, but it's not like it's going to be 15 degrees with wind chills at 0 or below. But you don't want to be stuck in a car in this. So once again, the recommendation is for Friday, stay home. It's going to be pretty bad. Travel will be treacherous. You always hear the stories of individuals who are like, oh, I got a 4-wheel vehicle, I can go get that pizza. Well, no. We often see the 4-wheel vehicles are off the road in these situations because you can't see where you're driving. 3 inches of snow coming down per hour is a lot of snow. Those are whiteout conditions. And I don't know how many times we've had that. And to give you the best example of that, there have been situations in the past where our plow crews could not see where they were going and ended up driving off the road to the point they had to be pulled out with the big rig and winched out. And if our plow drivers can't see where they're going, and those big rigs moving at a slower rate of speed, you going down that road at 40 miles per hour are a danger to yourself and others. So best thing to do on Friday, if this forecast continues as is to just hunker down. We all know about the Griffin scale. We've talked about that in the past in honor of Jimmy Griffin, our former mayor, who said, grab a 6-pack and stay home. This is probably going to be a lot more than a 6-pack. This might be a case of OV splits or a full 24-case storm, because if we get 4 feet of snow in 24 hours, it's going to take us some time to clean up afterwards. So Jimmy Griffin's advice wasn't really bad, whether it's beer or wine. Get it now. Get your supplies now, because you're not going to want to be driving on Friday. The roads can be very bad on Saturday. So make sure you got your supplies now for what could be a very bad 48 hours.
Now, you mentioned that there are no city roads in the county. I mean, no county.
No county roads in the city.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But are you doing any coordination with the city of Buffalo?
Well, the question was, there are no county roads in the city of Buffalo, but are you doing any coordination with the city of Buffalo? And the answer is yes. I've already spoken to the mayor. We've been in touch with their teams. They utilize our disaster land system to request assistance from the county or the state. And it has happened in the past and will probably happen again in the future. But the city is responsible for, and the state, I don't want to leave it only on the city, the state DOT is also responsible for major roads in the city of Buffalo. Those are the two that are responsible for the city. And the same goes for the city of Tonawanda, and most of the city of Lackawanna. The county does own Abbott Road and has responsibility to clear Abbott Road. But the rest of the roads are either a city of Lackawanna or state responsibility, and the best example of that is Route 5, which is one of the key routes to Buffalo from the south towns, which is also right along Lake Erie and is often one of the first closed because of bad conditions. So I don't want people to think we haven't communicated with the city of Buffalo. We have. It's just our responsibility are the 1,200 other centerline mile roads in Erie County. And to give you an example, Erie County has more centerline miles of roads than the states of Rhode Island, Delaware, and Hawaii each have in total. So Rhode Island and Delaware have less miles of roads in all of their state than what Erie County is responsible, and that is all the roads outside of the city of Buffalo. So there's a lot of roads in our community, and there are different responsibilities as who's responsible for it. If we can offer assistance and the city needs it, we will, but I also still have a responsibility for the southern part. I'll just go back to the map here. The white areas are those where the county does not have responsibility. The rest of it, the orange, the blue, the green, the purple, and I don't know what that color is in the bottom, pink, those are the responsibility of the county. And the towns do assist us in plowing those roads, but we have 1,200 centerline mile roads in those areas, including some very major routes in the inner ring suburbs in Tonawanda, Amherst, Cheektowaga, West Seneca, and Orchard Park, Hamburg. So we're going to be primarily responsible for those roads there. And if the city of Buffalo or Lackawanna or city of Tonawanda needs additional assistance, they will request it through our Erie County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services Disaster Land System, the D-Land system. Everyone in various governments has been trained to use D-Land. We had some problems back in 2014 where a number of the governments, especially newer elected officials, didn't know about it, and we were training on the fly. But this is a system that allows us to see what the requests are instantaneously. So anyone working in the Rath building, working at the Emergency Operations Center, who has access to the D-Land system can see the requests that come in, which then are transmitted from Erie County to the state if it's a state request. The county's going to have about 40 plows or so on the roads. We're also going to have our big snow blowers, but those are only used in really the southern part of Erie County. We don't have many of those. And those are for the areas where 3 feet of snow is not unknown. You don't want to be able, we don't expect to get that in the urban areas. If we do, we know we got a big storm, and it looks like we're going to have a big storm.
In your conversations with the school superintendent, as the deputy county executive knows, for parents, the earliest they're told that there won't be school tomorrow, the earlier the better. Any discussion of that?
The question was, in our discussion with the school superintendent representatives, the earliest the parents can be advised as to whether or not the schools will be closed, the better, and the answer is yes. We are going to revisit this and discuss it with them tomorrow, and I would assume that by this time tomorrow, they will have made an announcement with regards to Friday.
Is there concerns with the amount of leaves on the sides of the roads and still some up in the trees?
The question is there concerns with the number of leaves on the side of the road and those in the trees? I will say yes for those in the trees, because that can easily bring down power lines. Our Homeland Security Emergency Services has been in touch with National Grid and NYSEG, the two main power providers here. We do expect that there probably will be some power outages in the region as a result of trees taking lines down. I'll turn it over to the commissioner to talk about a little bit more about what leaves in the street can do.
Yeah. The leaves primarily during the snowfall is not going to be an issue. They're going to be buried. But during the melt, which we anticipate not a super fast melt next week, but that could become problematic with storm sewers being plugged up. Any extra debris, we just wouldn't want to have that on the side of the road. The homeowners are probably going to be a little upset because if the wing of the plow puts more leaves back in, it's always that little extra labor piece. But like the county executive said, this is going to be a real heavy wet snow as well. It's not a light snow. I think it's like a 10-to-1 ratio with water weight. So that's going to put a lot of additional stress on those limbs that do have leaves, and we do anticipate seeing some of the debris from that.
You've been there before.
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is snow. If you're used to snow in the Rockies, the powder that comes down, this is not that snow. This is a heavier, wet snow. There's a system with a lot of moisture that's coming in. It's setting up to go straight up Lake Erie. As you can see basically here, the system's going to go straight up Lake Erie and hit right into the center and the northern part of Erie County. It's going to go over into Wyoming, Genesee, actually Cattaraugus, Chautauqua in the southern areas, but even up to Monroe County, we'll see some snow from this. And Monroe County is the Rochester area. They just won't get a lot. But Niagara, Orleans are going to see some significant snowfall too because of the way this is setting up. The lake, as described to me yesterday by Judy Levon of the National Weather Service, is as warm as it's ever been at this period. They don't necessarily keep records, but that's a bad thing, as we all know, when we're talking about lake effect snow, because the warmer the lake is, the more unstable the air is as the wind goes over it, the air goes over it, and it creates the mother of all snows, which we saw in a similar position 8 years ago.
How much coordination is there? For example, if you go down Route 5 and suddenly you hit Irving, do you talk to the Chautauqua people?
The question was how much coordination is there as you're talking about counties, and the answer is yes. Yes. I have not talked to him yet, but I'm going to probably talk in the next few hours with County Executive P.J. Wendell of Chautauqua County. Our departments of transportation, our Public Works Department and the Highway Division does communicate with our partners down in Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County a lot because of the roads down there, which often cross the Cattaraugus Creek, which has an Erie County component, might have a Chautauqua or Cattaraugus County component. Same thing with Niagara County. Our Department of Homeland Security, Emergency Services, and Public Works are communicating with their partners. As we say, the snow knows no boundary by a municipal line, and so they could get just as much as we can depending on which way the wind's blowing. And this is all going to be based on the wind. Up to 4 feet is possible. And as we know, that's a lot of snow. It's not the first time we've had snowstorms like this, but that's a lot of snow, especially to hit the center of the city of Buffalo and the major suburbs of our community. I mean, I'm looking at that and thinking of the amount of people that live there. We're talking about 600 to 700,000 people who are going to be in the highest portion of the snow range because of where we're talking about. City of Buffalo, Grand Island, Tonawanda, Amherst, Clarence, all the way across to Newstead, and then you're looking at Lancaster, Cheektowaga, Hamburg, Lackawanna, West Seneca. These are all the biggest suburbs. Aurora, and the vast majority of Erie County's population is located in those areas. So this is going to have a significant effect on a lot of people, and hopefully, if the county will be closed on Friday, and that's it. We can get through this, and then Monday we're back open. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Any other questions? If not, thank you. This will be the last briefing we offer today. We will offer a briefing tomorrow as we get more information from the National Weather Service. As I said, a briefing tomorrow will be held here at the Rath Building up until we open the Emergency Operations Center at 7 o'clock. In years past, we've done briefings on every 3 hours during the worst of the storm. So expect that once we open up the Emergency Operations Center, we'll have a briefing at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. And then probably at 6, 9 a.m., noon, 3, 6, and 9 again. Tomorrow we'll probably do one in the early afternoon. But we want to keep the public informed. The best thing we can do is keep the public informed about what's going on so that people make a smart decision and don't put themselves and other people in danger. Thanks, everyone. Be safe and well, and we'll get through it. Thank you.